don't need too much of a microphone to hear me. And I apologize that I'm coming in with pizza in my hand, but that is the life of a town administrator who no longer has an assistant. There's no more lunch. I want to thank you all for coming and taking a couple of minutes to learn a little bit more about this program.
You look too comfortable. I had to distribute.
On the surface, it does look confusing. I've had many people call and ask questions. So I am really appreciative that you all decided to actually come and get the information from people who know what they're talking about, rather than relying on me for your information. But I won't drag this out. I just want to say that it's a great opportunity. The select board put this into place almost 2 years ago. So this has really been a long time coming. And we're really thrilled that it has finally come to fruition, and that just in time for the winter heating season, we're going to be able to offer you maybe hopefully a little relief on your bills. So without further ado, I'll give you Courtney, and she can take you through the program. And please ask questions because there is there'll be opportunity to follow up via email, via the enrollment forms, but this is really your best opportunity to get the right information. Okay, thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you
Hi.
for coming here today. My name is Courtney. I am here with Good Energy. We are the consultants that were hired by the town to develop this program. We work with 60 plus other programs like this across Massachusetts and more in other states in New England. This is a town-run program, and I'm very excited to give you this presentation tonight. Just so you know, the next 15 to 20 minutes will be me overviewing the structure of the program. And from there, the majority of this session will be Q&A. So if you could just hold your questions until after the presentation, I promise the majority of this will be answering those individually. Okay, so figured we would start with what Rutland Community Electricity is. This is called a municipal aggregation program. What happens is the town of Rutland pulls together their collective buying power and selects an electricity supplier for the program. The only thing that changes when you're in this program is who supplies your electricity and what that supply rate is. So on the purpose of the program, truly it's to provide you with more stable pricing. The rates that you can see on the FAQ on the second side of the page, those are locked in for 13 months. Ultimately, this gives you more options as an electricity consumer of what your electricity supply could be. Savings cannot be guaranteed because National Grid changes their supply prices every 6 months. So that's in contrast to the 13 months locked in on this program. Because we don't know what those future 6-month period rates will be, we can't guarantee savings. However, these programs have historically provided savings compared to the utility over a contract term, such as the 13 months. Dozens of Massachusetts communities with these aggregation models have successfully, seen these savings, and they date back as far as 2016 in terms of those that Good Energy has worked with. All right, so our electricity supplier for the program, Rutland chose Direct Energy as their electricity supplier. As a part of developing this program, Good Energy, as the experts, we vet only the most capable suppliers who have the strongest track records on the market to manage a load of an entire town such as Rutland. We have worked with Direct Energy with many of our dozens of communities over the years, and we have seen them be very successful in trying times for the market, such as COVID-19 or when Russia invaded Ukraine. So we're very excited to have Direct Energy be chosen through our competitive bidding process. Now, in terms of what changes on this program, there are 2 portions to your electricity bill. There is the delivery side and the supply side. If you participate, the only thing that changes is the supply part of your bill. The name of the supplier and the supply rate will change to that of the program. So as a quick preview, I'm just going to run through what stays the same if you participate in the program. Then we'll get into program options and how participation works. So in terms of what stays the same, the delivery portion of your national grid bill, including those delivery charges, will remain the same. That continues to be run by National Grid. National Grid will still continue to deliver your electricity. They own and will therefore maintain the poles and wires, and they will respond to storm or power outages. Additionally, you will continue to pay just one bill that comes from National Grid. Anyone using budget billing or receiving low income rate discounts will continue to receive their current benefits. That includes heat pump benefits as well. And customers receiving net metering or other solar benefits will continue to receive their current benefits. Okay, in terms of our program options, I have a table up here that lists the 3 electricity supply products that are run through the Rutland Community Electricity Program. You can also view them on the back of your FAQ page. There are 3 program supply products. One is a default supply product, and there are 2 optional supply products. All 3 of these supply products begin on your October meter read and are stable until November 2027 meter reads. So those are the 13 months that these prices are locked in for the program. I'll talk more about this on future slides, but if you're eligible for automatic enrollment and you do not take action, you are going to be enrolled into the default product. The default product adds 10% renewable energy on top of Massachusetts state minimum requirements. And the price for that is 16.239 cents per kilowatt hour. Our first optional product is the basic product. It is structured to mirror National Grid's basic service, and that it does not add any additional renewable energy on top of state minimum standards. It simply meets them. It is the most cost-effective product available, and that is a 15.837 cents per kilowatt price. Now, our third optional product is called the Plus product. This is for the eco-friendly individuals who would like to ensure that 100% of the energy that they use comes from renewable sources. That is priced at 16.904 cents per kilowatt hour. So just as a quick review, there are 3 options. One is the base cost for electricity. It mirrors National Grid and does not add any renewable energy. That is the Rutland Basic product. Our next is the Rutland Standard product. That is our community default. It meets the interests of both competitive stable pricing along with an additional 10% renewable energy addition. And our last product is optional. The Rutland Plus is for people who really care about their environmental impact, and that adds renewable energy to their supply, so 100% comes from renewable sources. You can see all those prices listed here and again on the back of your FAQ sheet. And I want to discuss National Grid's supply option for a second here. Up here on the screen, that's the darker column. National Grid's supply option is called Basic Service. It changes every 6 months. They are required to procure every 6 months, and they are at the whim of the electricity market, which can be rather volatile, I think, as we've all been feeling in recent months. The most recent change occurred on August 1st, 2026. So their next rate is currently in effect. That is at 17.185 cents per kilowatt hour. All 3 of our program products are below National Grid's rate for the next 6-month term. That term is from August 1st, 2026 through January 31st, 2027. And while we can't guarantee savings because we don't know what their future 6-month rates are going to be, we certainly hope that it'll remain competitive. We can guarantee that you know your rate for the next 13 months on the program, which is a big part and purpose of the program coming to fruition here in Rutland. So just to talk a little more about those additional renewables on top of state standards. As I mentioned, there is a standard for all electricity generation in the state for how much of that generation has to come from renewable sources. This is called a Renewable Portfolio Standard, or an RPS for short. In the calendar year of 2026, that number is 69%. So 69% of the electricity you use needs to come from renewable sources. National Grid's basic supply just meets those standards, as well as our basic supply. Our standard option adds 10% to that, so that makes the number 79%. Rutland program adds even more to just make those products a little cleaner or a little greener. And we get these renewable energy certificates, they're called RECs for short, from our nonprofit partner, Good Energy Consumers Alliance. So here's a map of the generation projects that they get these renewable energy certificates or RECs from. They are mostly in Massachusetts. A few of them are in surrounding New England states, but the great part of partnering with JICA is that we're buying RECs and putting electricity on the New England grid. So it's local renewable generation that is getting back to our grid. Okay, so now to talk about participation and enrollment. It's important to note no one has to participate in this program and anyone can leave at any time. There are no penalty fees associated with this program. If you're on an individual contract with a supplier one-to-one, there could be a penalty fee for leaving early included in that, but the town of Rutland has embedded a bunch of consumer protections into this. So you can come and go at your own choosing. There are no penalty fees. However you participate is different based on your current supplier, and I will explain more about that now. So on the screen here, I have an example of a National Grid bill. This is the supply section of a National Grid bill. And next to or underneath supply services is the name of your supplier. If anything other than National Grid is listed next to the name of your supplier, you are on a third-party supply. If it says National Grid, that means you are on National Grid's basic service. So again, under supply services, next to supplier, if it says National Grid, it means that you get your supply from their basic service. If anything else is listed other than National Grid, it means you're on a third-party supplier. So I am going to have 3 slides kind of reviewing for our National Grid basic service consumers. I'm going to keep reminding you that that's the group we're talking about, and those who are on a third-party supply. I will have some slides coming forward that address your needs. So you may have received a letter in the mail stating that you are eligible for automatic enrollment. And I do just want to note, if you haven't received that letter, it's totally okay. We will talk about enrollment for anybody who wants to participate in the program. But this letter that was sent out, it explains that you have National Grid basic service as your electricity supplier and that you are therefore eligible for automatic enrollment. Your enrollment will start on your October meter read, and you will see that on your bill the month after, because the month after you'll receive the October meter read. Sorry, I've got a fly coming around me. For this basic service group. If you do not take any action, you will be enrolled into that default product starting on your October meter read that we reviewed, the Rutland standard. So, quick summary of options for our National Grid basic service customers. The first is that you do nothing and you will be automatically enrolled into that default option, the Rutland standard. The second thing you can do is take action and choose one of the optional program products, whether that's the basic, the most cost-effective, or the plus, which is where 100% of the electricity you use will come from renewable sources. Your third option is to take action and opt out of the program altogether. So I would like to continue discussing opting out. As a reminder, I'm still talking about those who are on basic service. The deadline to opt out before the program starts is September 12th. If you don't opt out before that deadline, again, September 12th, you will be automatically enrolled into the standard product, but you can still always opt out at any time. This deadline is truly for those who don't ever want to be on the program at all. You just have to opt out before that September 12th. However, if you forget or you want to wait and see, you can still opt out at any time, no penalty fees involved. So, okay, last slide for our National Grid Basic Service Group. I ran through those 3 lists of options. The first was to take no action, be automatically enrolled in the default, but the second and third option require action, whether you want to switch electricity products in the program or opt out altogether. In order to do so, you would simply fill out a form online, or you would call the electricity supplier of the program, Direct Energy. I have the website up here where you can find the online form. And I have the phone number for Direct Energy up here as well. And I want to assure you that when we get to the Q&A, I'm going to be leaving a slide up that contains all this contact information, so you don't have to rush and write it down now. There is a third option to opt out for those who received a letter. Those who received a letter also received a card that you can sign and return through the post. You just have to post it before September 12th. That card is not intended for you to fill out after the September 12th deadline. It's for the before the program starts, but you can still always opt out by going to the form online or calling the electricity supplier of the program. Okay, so now I'm no longer talking about those who are on National Grid's basic service. I'm talking about those of you who have anything other than National Grid listed next to supplier in the supply section of your bill. So for someone who has something other than National Grid listed, that means that you have a third-party supplier. It also means you've already made a decision on who your electricity supplier is. We do not want to interfere with any decisions you've already made. And as I mentioned before, some of these contracts that are on the retail market where you make one-to-one contracts with the third-party electricity supplier, they may include penalty fees for you leaving early. Therefore, we are not automatically enrolling you. We would not like you to incur any penalty fees or get in the middle of that. So even if you're not eligible for the automatic enrollment, you can still participate if you are interested. You just have to take action. First, I would recommend that you read through your contract with a third-party supplier and that you reach out to them to fully understand what potential penalty fees may be incurred for leaving early. And if you do want to enroll, again, it'll be the same as what we looked at on this slide. There's a form online at rutlandcommunityelectricity.com, or you can call our supplier, Direct Energy. Okay, now I just want to touch on outreach real quick. So the town of Rutland has made some great efforts to spread awareness and get the word out about this program. In addition to tonight's meeting, our education outreach has included notification letters sent to all eligible customers. There's been a press release. We've got news blurbs, social media. There's hard copy of the FAQs that you guys are holding in the town hall. There are also brochures at the town hall and a poster. So basically, you may have seen all this outreach that the town has been issuing. That's likely why you're here tonight. And I'm here to answer any of the individual questions you all may have. So that brings me to this slide. As I mentioned, I'm going to be leaving this up here. It contains all the contact information that you might need. I am going to read them off real quick, just in case anybody listening would like that when writing it down. So you can always call Direct Energy, that's the electricity supplier of the program, at 866-968-8065 if you would like to change electricity products or if you would like to opt out of the program. You can also do so by filling out the different forms on the rutlandcommunityelectricity.com. That's the program website. We have a form for opting out and a form for enrolling or switching electricity program products. Now, I do want to call out too, for any sort of more in the weeds questions, you can always contact Good Energy. I am on the other end of this phone number, as well as my colleague Rachel. That number is 508-356-4681. And also, if you fill out the contact form at rutlandcommunityelectricity.com, we will be getting back to you. So with that, I'd be happy to start taking your guys' questions. Feel free to raise your hand. I'm going to do my best to repeat your question back into the microphone, just so those who are viewing online are definitely able to hear the question as well.
I'll go first.
Yes.
Why are we so close to the September deadline for anybody that wants to opt out? Why wasn't this done a little bit earlier to give people a little bit more time to make decisions?
Yes.
It's kind of close.
Yes. Okay. So the question was, why is all of this happening, a little close to the deadline, September 12th? Today is August 19th. Essentially because Massachusetts kind of has directives in terms of state law. We're supposed to be getting all this word out 30 days before it goes into effect. And I believe that we have done more than that, but very much so the outreach has occurred before this meeting as well. This is just one of the ways we're trying to get the word out, but we wanted to make sure that the meeting happened with enough people able to, see the outreach and maybe, tell their friends and neighbors so that they could attend this meeting.
Other than the letter I received in the mail, I've heard nothing about this. How was it promoted?
Yeah, so the question was, other than the letter in the mail, outreach wasn't seen. So essentially, here are all the ways that the town of Rutland has worked on education and outreach. Yes, those notification letters were sent to those who are automatically eligible, but there was also a press release. We had a news blurb. There's social media that went out. There are hard copies of the FAQs and of the brochures at the town hall, as well as a poster. Certainly, we want everyone to know about this, and the town of Rutland has been putting forth effort to make sure that you're aware, and we're glad you're able to attend this meeting tonight.
And I'm happy with what I have now. How could you convince me to change? What would be the advantage of me changing to this?
Sure, absolutely. So the question was, if I'm happy with what I have now, what is the advantage of changing to this? In my own words, I would say that it's the stability of the electricity market that makes these aggregation programs extremely valuable. As I mentioned, National Grid is your utility. They essentially have a monopoly on the delivery side of your bill. So the only part that you have control over is who your supplier is. National Grid, of course, can continue your supply, but they have to change their pricing every 6 months. They are required to go out and procure every 6 months. And in doing so, they are much more subject to the whim and the volatility of the electricity market. I think we can see that now, actually. Our market in New England is in a very interesting time for many reasons. And that national grid rate that started on the 1st of this month is 17.185 cents per kilowatt hours. As you can see, all three of our products priced in the program are lower than that. Often when I launch these programs, only 2 of the 3 of the product prices are lower. I do believe that this is a volatile time in the market, and it makes it especially beneficial to be on a program or be on a contract that is more stable. Again, these prices will last for 13 months.
Courtney, I guess just obvious, if National Grid is going out to bid every 6 months, their pricing will change every 6 months, whereas yours will stay that one price for the 13 months. So if their price continues to go up, yours will stay stable until November of 2027. So I just want to make sure that that point is really clear. That's really where the advantage is.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would just love to note that the purpose of this is truly to give you more options as an electricity consumer. I'm gonna, yes, ma'am, in the back.
Yeah. So how is the price going to behave after the 13 months? Is it also in 6 months intervals then, or how is it?
Yes, so the question was, how is the pricing of the program products going to behave after the 13 months of this initial contract? So assuming the town of Rutland renews the program, which we do typically, I think, always see in our communities, there will be a new procurement that goes out on our end. And unlike National Grid, we have flexibility on the dates and when that happens, so we can time it correctly for a more favorable moment in the market. At that point, we would get the word out to the town, including sending letters to all program participants about the new prices, and you will have the option to opt out of the program completely before the new prices go into effect, if you so wish. Otherwise, you would take no action and you would stay in the program product that you're currently enrolled in.
Brittany, we have somebody on Zoom who has their hand up. Will you take a call from?
Of course, yes, happy to take a call from Zoom.
uh, Okay, so we'll invite the person on Zoom to unmute themselves.
Hi, I also didn't know anything about this until today. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Just so that you know, I did get the letter in the mail and I'm all for saving money on my electricity since I'm an older home that has all electric heat. However, I also work from home full time and I didn't know out of the three options. I'm very, I need my Wi-Fi a lot. So I didn't know if out of the three options, which one I should choose to make sure that I have the Wi-Fi all the time and I can count on it because of my job.
Oh, totally understand. I myself work hybrid and I do rely a lot on my Wi-Fi at home. So I can put any worries like that to rest in terms of the reliability of your electricity. It does not change based on who your supplier is. Any three of these products are going to be just as reliable as National Grid of running your electricity and or your Wi-Fi. Sometimes I get questions over the phone, such as, would I be considered a second-class citizen almost to National Grid if I'm getting supply from someone else? And the answer is no. National Grid actually does not make any profit off of their supply. They're simply required to provide a supply option. So it really doesn't matter to them either way who your supplier is. Did I answer your question?
Okay. Yeah, I just don't know why they, you know, which option out of the three would be better. I mean, I don't know if it, you know, people would be better off just going with the cheaper option or, you know, what really the differences are.
Yeah, so, okay, I just flipped back to the table of our program options. I'll run through all three of them again. I just want to note that there's no difference in reliability between these. The differences lie in their pricing and the associated amount of renewable energy. So we have our Rutland basic.
And if I missed that part, I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. That's what this is all about, right? We want to make sure that you guys feel comfortable and confident coming out of this meeting, that you know the choices that you're making.
I don't mean to interrupt, but
Yes.
renewable energy, can you explain what that is? You've mentioned it so many times.
Yes, absolutely. Let me flip back to here just so people have the ability to write down.
And you have
information.
answered my question, so you can turn off the microphone now if you want.
Okay, thank you. It's much appreciated. Thank you so much. So essentially, there are different types of renewable energy out there. Massachusetts qualifies the most important kind of renewable energy as MA Class 1. What this means that they're mostly solar energy, wind energy. There is some hydropower as well. There are a little bit of MA Class 2, which is just older forms of renewable energy that they keep up and running on the grid. But for the most part, all of our additional renewable energy comes from MA Class 1 sources, which Massachusetts values very highly. And again, those types of renewable energy is energy generated by solar power, wind power, and some hydro. Yes, ma'am.
Mine's specific to our new home that we live in. We have the new heat pump system.
Okay.
And you said that the rate that we get, because we did sign up for that during the winter time, was
Yes.
supposed to be less because of customers who have a heat pump system. Now, is that only on a portion of the bill, or how, you said that would not change? So if we're going into this, is there two different rates, one for the supplier rate versus
The heat pump discount, I will have to check this. So I'll get your number or your contact information after this. I believe applies to the whole bill. What I can confidently say is that your heat pump discount works in perfect tandem with this program. It is not interrupted by it. In terms of how it works on the bill, I am going to have to look into that because it's a National Grid product, but I can assure you that it works.
But it's not, you said it wouldn't interfere with it.
Correct.
So if that rate
It's a
were,
discount off the whole bill, I believe, but I would like to check that for you.
okay, so that may change if we even opt in for the basic or for whatever we choose here, the rate that we'd be receiving because of that. It could be less than what other three categories we have. Is that possible?
I suppose in theory, so basically this only affects that supply rate, right? And then if you have discounts on top of it, there's many discounts that exist out there, such as low income discounts, heat pump discounts. Those will apply to the bill in the same way. It is not affected by this program. However, those discounts are run by National Grid, and with the details of those, I would recommend either reaching out to National Grid or coming up to me after this. I will get your contact information and make sure I'll reach out to a National Grid representative and get that answer for you.
Our whole community now has the heat pumps, so it
Wonderful.
affects all of them, so I'd like that information.
Absolutely. Yes, I'll make sure to get your number after this. Yes, sir.
In the event you opt out, is there a process to get back in or get in?
Yes, in the event that you opt out of the program, you will not receive any more letters or anything from the program about joining, but you will always be welcome to rejoin if you would like. So in theory, you could go back and forth, opting out of the program, opting back in, based on a 6-month rate or anything like that. I just have a couple of caveats to note. The first is when you put in an opt-out request or an enrollment request, it takes a little bit of time for the utility to process that request. And it depends on the date of your personal meter read. So, we typically tell customers when they opt out or when they enroll that you should see the changes reflected on the supply side of your bill in 1 to 2 billing cycles. So there's a little bit of a gap there potentially, just depending on the timing. The second thing I'd like to note is that the supplier reserves the right to offer a market rate rather than a program rate when you rejoin. However, we have only seen them ever do that to large industrial accounts. We have never seen that occur with a residential account.
Can you clarify that, what that actually means?
Yes. So when I say that the supplier reserves the right to offer you a market rate if you leave the program and then want to rejoin, it means that they could give you a new rate based on the market at that moment in time, not the rate that the program provides. However, they typically only do that, and even then, not often, with large industrial account. We're talking big businesses. We have never seen that occur with a residential account. Yes.
All right, Mass Department of Energy, can you tell me how this state with the current administration in Boston, with the legislature, are they affecting this municipal plans throughout the Commonwealth because they're pushing green energy and the renewable energies that are basically being generated and maybe not so much in the future? I'm speaking for myself.
Of course.
This governor has been horrible with regards to dealing with electricity and energy. Energy rates since she has been in office have skyrocketed. She has turned down gas pipelines, any type of fossil fuels to go with this wind power and the hydro plants and the renewable energy. Is the Mass Department of Energy pushing this on the state?
Okay, the question was, is the Mass Department of Energy pushing
And
this
the current
on the state
administration.
and the current administration? My answer to that would be no. I would say that aggregation programs have been passed as a law for a while now. Like I mentioned, Good Energy has worked with models like this as far back as 2016. A vast majority of Massachusetts towns and cities have aggregation programs or are actively in the process of getting them. They don't necessarily benefit. We do have, legal processes that we have to go through to launch the program. However, that includes things such as a public review that went through and, a town meeting for approval, things along those lines.
Can I follow up?
Sure. Yes.
All right. Right now, my understanding is Massachusetts requires by law 69% of renewable energy, correct?
69% is the
And you know where
minimum required
okay,
renewable energy.
You know
yes.
where they're going with this, right?
Yeah, increasing year to year, yes, sir.
They want 100%. They don't want 69%. They want 100%. And it's evident that the amount of money that the people that are using electricity has skyrocketed. And it's,
I completely agree.
all right, so I think this is where this is going. It might be a good thing right now, but I think they're eventually gonna go, nope, sorry, we're gonna get it to 100%, and then you're stuck.
So I do understand your concern. The concern here is that state minimum requirement, it's currently 69%, that it's going to increase to 100 over time. I cannot speak
I
on behalf of our current administration and things like that, but what I can say is that no matter if you're on this program or not, you will be meeting those minimum renewable energy requirements. And if you would like to meet just the minimum, I would recommend our basic product in the program, or of course, you could opt out and go on National Grid Supply. Did you have anything you wanted
No,
to say?
I was just gonna say that regardless of whether you're participating in this program or you stay with National Grid, you'll be meeting those basic.
I just wanted to make a
Yeah,
point
yeah.
that we got to 69%,
Right, well, we wanna see.
and now they wanna go to 100%.
Yeah, let's.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that is a very separate thing from this program, the RPS or Renewable
Right.
Portfolio Standard. That's not something that this program influences in any way. All that influences is our basic product. Yes, sir.
So if I don't do anything, I'll be in the Rutland standard at the 16.239, correct? And I can opt into the Rutland Basic, which is a little bit less. And so I know you've probably said it 8 or 9 times. and-
Totally fine.
And I was a student that had to be told 6 or 8 times.
No
about
problem.
This renewable energy, why would I not go, if I wanna change, why wouldn't I go to Rutland Basic? What is my benefit?
Okay,
with
the
renewable
question
energy?
is,
What is my benefit?
the question is, what is my benefit? Why wouldn't I go to Rutland Basic? So this program balances two different goals, I could say, or interests. The first is cost-effective, stable pricing. If you are looking for the most cost-competitive price, the basic product in this program is the product for you. If you are looking for the other goal or motivation of this program, which is to increase renewable energy for those who wish to, you could opt up to the plus. Those are for our eco-friendly residents and businesses who just really value that ecological footprint. 100% of the electricity you use would then come from renewable sources, and it is the most expensive product available in the program. All three products are currently less than National Grid. And what I can say is that typically in these programs, those who opt up to the plus product, it's not typically a high amount. We see about 1% perhaps of communities like this opting up into the plus product. And I just want to highlight that because this really is about options or choices for you. And our default product, the standard, what that does is balance a little bit of both of these motivations or goals by having a very cost-effective option that is stable, but adds just a little bit of renewable energy to what you're doing. That's still priced lower than National Grid. But I do want to emphasize the whole point of this program is to really be giving you as an electricity consumer more options with greater stability. If the stability of the most cost-effective option is the one for you, then by all means, there is a form online, or you could call Direct Energy to opt into the basic, and you will steadily stay in there on a locked-in price.
What is National Grid at for the renewable? What percentage are they at?
National Grid is just like the basic, which is the 69% renewable energy, which is the state
And
minimum.
who chose that we get automatically put into the Rutland standard instead of Rutland Basic?
That is,
What was the question?
Who chose it?
Who chose that we get put into Rutland standard instead of, why don't we start at the bottom and anybody else that wants to
So-
give money away, they can?
Last August, August 4th of 2025, the select board had this as an agenda item. Good Energy came, presented much of the preliminary of what you're seeing. tonight. I will defer to Courtney to explain why the default to the standard was the preferred choice, but it was a very lengthy conversation. You can go back, because I clearly wasn't here then, so I went back and watched that meeting to make sure that I understood, and the conversation centered around the amount of choices that you all would have. If the select board had voted to accept the basic, the lowest price point, as the default, it would have eliminated the options to choose the other, the standard or the eco-friendly one. There wouldn't have been those options. So in order to preserve those choices, because we know that there are people who would prefer to have a little more green in their day and not just add kale to their salad. And so that's why they did that. Knowing that you will still be able to choose any of the other two options. So even though it's a default to the standard, it doesn't eliminate the opportunity for you to go with basic or to go with the more designer green energy product.
So how do we choose either either of the other two
So
options?
I'm gonna hand it back to Courtney to confirm that I got that right, and.
Absolutely. I actually have nothing to add to
Okay.
that, so.
So it was a vote, it was a vote by your select board, and it was in order to preserve choice. That's the short answer, but the meeting is on YouTube. You can go back and you can watch it. It was pretty painful, but
So there was absolutely no choice. You don't start at the bottom of the ladder, you start in the middle of the ladder? Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So that is what the select board chose and voted
Why
for.
is it,
and
and it's not you, why is there not select board members here to answer this question?
You wouldn't know that.
National Grid
so I can't speak as to why these, I think Paul is actually in the cable room right now helping with the actual technical side of things. If you go back and you watch so one of the select board members reached out to me as the documents were hitting your mailboxes and had the same question. He said that he didn't remember voting for the standard or that they didn't vote, and then another select board member called and said the same thing. So I think that if you watch the meeting, it was presented very, very well by the team at Good Energy. It made sense as they were talking it through to be able to preserve the choices. But obviously, now here we are a year later, our world, energy and our costs and our, maybe they would have made a different choice today than they made a year ago, but that was a choice that they made at the time. It really did preserve the ability for the town, for the residents, the business owners to have all the options in front of them. If they had chosen just the basic, that's all you would have been able to choose from. And I think that they really wanted to make sure that they were giving you the choice. Does it mean an extra step? If you want to go back and enroll at the basic, it's an extra step. And certainly, they have made it very easy. There's so many opportunities and ways of doing it. And I think it was a good decision. But again, decisions that get made 13 months ago, this world was a very different place then.
It would have been nice if they would have put a card where you could have selected that.
So I think that's still to come, the enrollment form.
So the enrollment form, and this was mentioned earlier in this question, which I think Heather recapped really, really well. This was a decision made by the select board in order to give you guys options. I do want to say the purpose of this program is for cost stability over the 13-month period, but also to put the power in the hands of you as electricity consumers for your choices. And in terms of your choices, if you wish to switch electricity products in the program, such as going to the basic, you would just fill out a form online. I have the website up here, rutlandcommunityelectricity.com, or you would call Direct Energy, the supplier of the program, at 866-968-8065. This information is also found on the FAQ sheet that you have in front of you. It's also found in the letter. The phone number can also be found on the website that's up there. Okay, lots of hands. You've had your hand up for a while, sir.
All right, I'm just curious, why does renewable energy cost more than a fossil fuel when by definition it's renewable? We're not working with a finite amount of these products.
Sure, absolutely. So the question here was, why does renewable energy cost more than fossil fuels? Essentially, I have a little answer here. So truly, in terms of the market, the renewable market is still growing here in New England. An example of an alternative market that has already grown into a place where it, is a little more cost effective would be Texas. They already have a bunch of renewables and things like that, but because the market is still growing here, it does make renewable energy a little more expensive than fossil fuels at the current moment. That would change as time goes on, and if you have any further questions about that, I would love to give you our contact and phone number. Yes, sir, in the orange.
Okay, first of all, I think it's would be very important for the select board and town administrator to get out some additional information summarizing what went on.
Do you have suggestions as to where I put that
Well,
information?
In the mail with everything else that you mailed
I
on this.
can't afford to send you a.
There's a newsletter.
There is not a newsletter anymore. The person that was,
Okay.
that did that is no longer, we don't have that person in the budget anymore. If there's another location that this information could be
The
put. that is
library is more accessible than your town offices when you're only open Mondays and Tuesdays.
Okay, so you would like some information here at the library? Okay?
And just because you lost an employee doesn't mean you should cut our services. So getting a newsletter out to us or getting a postcard out to us should still continue.
Yeah. I don't have anyone to do the work, ma'am. I don't have anyone to do the work.
Well, maybe if the budget was a little bit different.
I do think.
Take a volunteer.
But I have
In
a
terms-
question for you.
In terms of I do think that this meeting, I would love to keep on track in terms of the program. People came here with, explicit questions for the program, and I would love to answer those. And what is your question, ma'am?
So this is the kilowatt hours we're talking about with this company, correct?
That is how your electricity bill works, yes. You are
What
billed on
about
kilowatt
everything
hours.
else that comes through on the electricity bill? What is going to be the delivery charges and A, B, C, D? How much is that
Yes.
going to be affected through your program?
So the question is, how will the other charges be affected? Not the supply charge, but the delivery, ABC, you see it on your bill. How will those be affected by the program? The answer is that they will not be. There's two sides to your electricity bill. There's the delivery portion and the supply portion. The delivery side continues to be, run by National Grid, and you don't have any power in terms of choosing an alternative deliverer or anything like that. They essentially have a monopoly over the delivery side. That's why Massachusetts state law makes sure that you have power as a consumer over who your supplier is. And that is all that this program affects. If you participate in Rutland Community Electricity, the only thing you will see change is the name of your supplier and that supply rate in the supply section of your bill. Unfortunately, the delivery side is not affected.
So I have a follow-up for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So according to Massachusetts state law, if the market rates go up, even in this 13-month program, you can raise the rates as well.
No.
According to MassGov, you can. However, if you stick to your 13-month program, after that program ends, how often are you allowed to raise rates?
Okay, so the question was, Are you able to change your rates if the market goes up during this 13-month period? And how do the rates affect after this current term? So we are actually unable to raise our rates if something like the market just becomes higher. The only way in which the supplier of the program could change these rates is if there is a change in law that directly affects the supply portion of the bill, and therefore the rates cannot just go up because it's a tough market currently, and I really want to stress that because it is currently a tough market. These rates will stay locked in for 13 months, and the reason that Direct Energy is one of the very few suppliers that we use in our competitive bidding process is because we have seen them in action honor these types of contracts with this level of load through other very tough market volatility times. And then the second question, which as a reminder is what will the rates look like moving forward for the program and will they change? A similar thing is going to happen as this contract length right now. When we get closer to November of 2027, if the town of Rutland renews the program, which typically these programs do renew, we will be going back out for procurement. Unlike National Grid, we get to choose what day, so we can kind of look at the market, pick a more favorable day to get a more favorable long-term rate for the 3 product options in the program. You will be notified well before any of the price changes go into effect. Program participants will receive a letter to their home, and it will detail those new prices and how to opt out if you don't wish to ever receive the new prices. Then those prices are locked in for the next term length, whatever that may be. We have seen term lengths go as long as 4 years at this point. So I can't tell you the details of what that will look until the next contract. Sir, you've had your hand up for a while in the blue.
So my question is, with the 3 choices, how do you, if you choose one of the higher, how do you send a higher renewable energy to a certain house? How does that work?
Yes, okay.
That doesn't make any sense to me, but I don't know.
The question is, if you choose one of the products with the extra additional renewable energy, how does that electricity end up at your house? I will say this is a very convoluted answer, and if anybody after my answer has more questions, please feel free to come up to me after the presentation. I of course can explain it to you then and there, but depending on timing, I can give you our contact number and we can both answer your question after the meeting as well as provide additional resources. So the way I would typically describe this is if you have a pool of water. Different suppliers are dumping in different buckets of water into that pool, and then you come along to scoop up your electricity supply. You don't technically know which droplet of water is in the pail that you scooped out of the pool. However, through this program, you are making sure that the water that the electricity suppliers are dumping into the pool is cleaner. So what it does is affect the grid as a whole to become cleaner, and what you take home with you or what's delivered to your home, it isn't necessarily parsed apart, but there are renewable energy certificates that are logged through this process of generation and being put onto the grid. And I can assure you that you are, if your interest is in greater renewable energy and you're in a program product that has extra renewable energy, that certificate is put onto the grid and it's in your name and you are making the grid cleaner. If you have any further questions around that, please come find me after the presentation here. I'd be more than happy to get you in contact. Yes, ma'am.
I have the opposite end of the bucket, as you just said.
Yes.
What happens if, because of the market right now, the rate of 17, this I don't know, is this the highest it's been? And is it only because of what's happening now with all the turmoil with energy all across the country based on what's been happening in the Strait and all this other stuff? So my question is this the highest rate, the 17 that we see National Grid? And is there a potential that they will go down after, say, 6 months, because at this point, things are gonna change when this is all settled? And then we're locked in at another rate that may be higher, is that possible?
Okay, so the question is with National Grid, moving forward, will their rate potentially be lower or potentially be higher based on the market? And is there any additional part of the question? I'm happy to answer that.
It's actually
And
the
then-
market,
And then they could opt out, so
Right, and then you could opt out. So essentially, the answer is yes. This is a pretty volatile market. It does have, there are many factors going into that. Geopolitical factors, New England ones. There's also some ancillary services called Daisy that has really been disrupting the market and the suppliers. Those are very in the weed things. And if you have further questions about those factors, please come find me after the program. I would love to answer them in more detail. But what I can say is that, yes, the price will change. The 17.185 rate that we're seeing now is higher than I have seen in a while. It is not the highest to have ever existed. I typically like to point out, I believe it was when Russia invaded Ukraine, that utilities across New England skyrocketed on their supply rates, and it was those in municipal aggregation programs that were protected from that because of the way that these contracts lock in their prices. So sorry. So basically what I'm trying to say is National Grid's rate will change in 6 months. It will either go down or it will go up based on the market, and we don't know what that's going to look like. It is a particularly volatile time. I can't even tell you if it's likely to go down or if it's likely to go up. That being said, the stability of these program products is really the greatest value of them. And of course, if you don't want to be in the program, you can opt out at any time with no penalty or fee. You could do that now, but you could do that later too, when the National Grid rates change. And if they're more favorable, you could opt out then. Yes, ma'am.
Now, you said you do these kind of services and you cooperate with towns since 2016.
Yes, we have.
About there, yeah, roughly there. And there are quite many towns you do this for, or municipalities, right? So I'm sure you have statistics. What's the average saving that an average household has across all these towns?
Oh, so the question was, what is the average savings across all of these households within towns and cities? Unfortunately, that is not an easy number to give because of the layouts of all the different towns. Your loads all look incredibly different. Your rates are all different in these program products based on when the procurement happens and things. However, if you'd like to follow up with me after this, I can absolutely look into similar towns and cities that are perhaps like the size of Rutland and the load, and hopefully closer to the Rutland area, and see what perhaps a fair comparison could be to give. But having just like an average number like that is impossible to achieve in a program like this. Yes, sir, in the orange.
So,
Oh, 1 second.
we have after this gentleman, we have a Zoom.
okay,
Okay, we have a Zoom question after this gentleman.
thank you. With,
Are they up there?
They are speaking to me from this speaker, so. Yes,
so
sir.
you've had, as previously pointed out, 10 years' experience with lots of towns. Has National Grid ever gone backwards so that they have lower rates than these programs? And do you see a significant exodus from the town, from the town's program back to National Grid if that happens? Is that?
Yeah, so
what's
the
your
question
experience
is, Good Energy, we've worked with a lot of communities that have aggregation programs. I should say we do work with a lot of aggregation programs. And when a utility goes lower than the program, is that something that occurs? And do we see a massive opt-out rate when that occurs? Or what does that look like? Yes, we have seen that. So like we said, we cannot guarantee savings because any 6-month period of a utility supply rate, that is unknown to us. Our rates are the ones that are known and stable. However, I can say that working with dozens of communities across Massachusetts, in general, these programs, participants have savings. just over term length, from program date to the end rather than, any given 6-month period. So yes, sometimes the utility is lower than the program rate. There are ebbs and flows with dips like that. However, overarchingly, like very much so, our programs see savings. It's just not something we can technically guarantee, but it is favorable. And I would be happy to follow up on any other questions associated with that.
Well,
Okay, then we have our Zoom speaker.
Can you unmute yourself there?
Okay, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. So my question is, I have, it's a kind of a 3-part question. So if I chose like Rutland Basic, and then in February, I think February is when National Grid will report what their new rate is going to be.
The new rate will, yes, the next change in rate will be February 1st.
So I'll have it. There's no problem with me opting into the program and then opting out at any point.
Absolutely.
Right.
There's no problem. There's no penalty fees associated with this program. You can opt out at any time and you can opt back in.
And are there any fees associated with any of that, opting out or opting back in or re-enrolling?
No, so sorry for the speaker, guys. Truly, one of the benefits of this program is that there are a bunch of consumer protections embedded in the contract that the town of Rutland was able to negotiate. That means there are no penalty fees associated in this contract at all with any actions that you make. You can opt in or out as you wish.
Okay. I see. And is there like an advance notice I need to give for my opt-out to take effect?
The question was, is there an advance notice needed for the opt-out to take effect? No, I don't believe so. What I tell customers who opt out is that you should expect to see that reflected on the supply portion of your bill in 1 to 2 billing cycles. Once you submit that request, it goes to the supplier. The supplier then sends it to the utility. The utility has to approve it, and that typically takes just a couple business days, but you never know. And then the change occurs on your next meter read, and people's meter reads can be different. So for the sake of acknowledging that there is a lot of timing at play in this process, I would say if you really want to be at a certain rate, whether that's on the program or off the program at a certain time, give yourself 2 months in advance to be safe.
Okay. And is there any waiting period associated with opting out and then opting back in?
No, there's no real waiting period other than what I just said, the process that occurs, going to the supplier, approved by the utility, and then the change takes effect on your next meter read. So that would be the only aspect of waiting that you might have.
Okay, thank you very much.
Of course, thank you. And ma'am, sorry, you were.
It's okay. I just want to clarify a couple of things.
Yes.
It's my understanding you're Good Energy.
Yes.
And you worked with our selectmen to come up with this contract.
Good Energy was a part of it, yes.
Yeah, so this is a contract, and my understanding, this first one is 13 months.
Yes.
And you've just talked about a couple things, no penalty fees, opt in, opt out, and
Yes.
a couple of other benefits, but that's strictly for this 13 months. Because you have to go back to contract, and is there a possibility that these opt-in, out fees, penalty fees could eventually be part of this, or?
That's a great question. And not one I've ever received before. So excellent question.
For the first 13 months, this may sound great, but you're talking
Yes.
about a lot of volatility in the
Yes.
industry.
I want to.
And if this is a contract, we're adding another, what's Good Energy getting out of this? Because you're now like,
An employee.
yeah.
So essentially the question The question here is, sorry, I'm gonna do my best to
That's all
project
right.
for those who are online.
Yeah.
The question here is the consumer protections that I've discussed baked into this contract, which is 13 months long. Are those consumer protections going to disappear on the next, renewal, the next contract? And what is Good Energy's role in that? So I can say very confidently, no, that those consumer protections will not go away. They are within all aggregation programs. It is the benefit of the town or city going and making and negotiating these contracts is that on the wholesale market, this is a lot more typical to have the consumer protections baked in. So you will not be penalized by being on this program in any way, shape, or form with a fee. That does not just exist these 13 months. That will continue into the program. In terms of Good Energy's role, as I said, we are kind of experts on this program. We work with 60 plus communities across Massachusetts and more across New England. It is very steeped in a lot of legal procedures around the time of launching and around the time of renewing. We, being the experts, very much help the town with all of that and maintain during the status quo of the contract term, such as customer support. So if you reach out to this number down there, my colleague Rachel is on the other end, sometimes I am too. And the town does not pay Good Energy, like our role in this, our part in this is with the suppliers. And so that supply rate that you're paying, we're baked into that.
So you actually bargain with the suppliers and then you bring it to the selectmen to.
It's a competitive bidding process.
So just like any other contract that the town gets involved in, I'm required as your chief procurement officer to put it out to bid, right? So we have any number of projects and programs that go out to bid on either an annual basis or every 3 years. In this case, when we went out to bid, we were aware that the market is very volatile, so we deliberately asked for different time frames, right? As soon as 12 months. Also, I think that we had a 3-year, we had a 24-month. So we had 12, a 24, and a 36. And we asked those bidders, we asked those supply companies to give us rates based on that. And when we met as a group and went through them, those were the options. And that's what the bid process allows us to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we will do that in this case, we said, you know what, we're only gonna get involved in this until next November. And then we're gonna see where the market is, we're gonna see where everything is, and we'll go back out to bid. And we'll ask the suppliers for that same information. But it is the exact same process that I go through to do all of your procurement for the
So can I
town.
interject? I've actually been doing my suppliers for 2 or 3 years
Yeah.
now, maybe even more.
Yeah.
And this town just has the one 13-month choice. I had 6 months choice, 8 months choice, 9-month choice, all from the same
Yeah.
like constellation or whatever
Yep.
it was. And there were multiple choices. So
So-
how does that work for the town of Rutland?
Right, so I had to choose one, right, because again, those, Constellation was one of our bidders, right? Did Constellation bid on this?
Trying to remember, I don't know how much better details.
Yeah. Oh, okay, well, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Anyways, in a open bid situation, I had those in front of me. And again, we chose on your.
Direct Energy wouldn't give you so that people could opt in and see how it worked for them, like a shorter amount of time?
Yeah.
And then if it was
No,
going good, they could
That was not
then-
an option with this program. But given the fact that you do have access to those other third-party suppliers, if you're happy with the service and the choices that you have from Constellation, you should stay with it, with them.
Well, I'm not
yeah.
with Constellation, I,
Well, I
that
mean,
just came to
or,
my mind.
or whatever third
Yeah.
party that you're with.
I would love to interject on this.
Okay.
So truly, if you wish to shop around for your own third-party supplier, we more than encourage you to do that. Very much so. This program is intended for those who don't have the time to shop around or don't have the expertise. By all means, there is a website online called Energy Switch. It's for Massachusetts. It shows you all of the third-party supplier options that you could have, but they will be on the retail market. They will not be on the wholesale market. So that means that the consumer protections that are baked into this contract may not be in the one-to-one contract that you have with a third-party supplier. That being said, the purpose of this is to give you stability and to give you options. A third-party supplier could give you that on the retail market. They also might spike the price after X amount of months. That is not going to happen in this program. And I'm not saying it's guaranteed that that will happen with a third-party supplier on the retail market, but it's a possibility. There was, I'm so sorry, I'm gonna put this down. There was a report that went out by the Attorney General in the last year or two that discussed this and talked about kind of the more predatory nature of some of these third-party suppliers on the retail market. So it's very much at your own risk in that sense, but yes, we encourage you to shop around if that's what you would like to do. This is just meant to give you options.
So doing this, is that, you're talking stability, and you couldn't start, a couple of the questions was, why didn't we start at the basic rate, the lower rate, to see? Was the lack of stability if you had gone with just the basic rate?
So the idea of stability here is baked into the fact that all three product rates are locked in for a certain amount of time. Your utility changes its supply rate every 6 months. It has to. And it has to procure on a certain date. It doesn't get much flexibility at all. Therefore, it is much more to the subject of the volatility of the market. We have options in this program as an aggregation program to choose the date, to go to bid and choose nothing if it's unfavorable. Basically, the stability portion is that being locked in for 13 months rather than 6 months. Future contracts could look longer. It just depends on what is best with the market at that time. And I will note that it is a very volatile market right now. And I personally believe that Rutland made a great decision by going for 13 months. It has locked you in this part.
I'm not meaning the 13 months.
That is
You
what
had
the
to make
stability is.
Choice to go to the higher one for stability, is that what I understood?
It was because if we had chosen basic,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have the option of the other two. That's why they chose the middle ground, is because
Okay, that makes sense.
it allowed a hybrid, if you will, a nice blend of the basic,
Rutland would have been locked into that
one
fee
basic
for
lowest.
that length of time
Granted,
only.
it would have been the lowest, but for those who that is not the end of their decision-making process, the select board wanted to make sure that they had access to all three options, and the only way to do that was to not choose the basic.
Just to clarify, that alternative option gives you 2 product options. This one gives you 3.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, nuts and bolts on this program with Rutland Community Electricity. You're currently working for Good Energy, correct?
Yes.
What happens in November? How long are you gonna be associated with Rutland Community Electricity?
Oh, forever if they'll have us.
Well, I know, well,
No.
forever, I know, but what's the realistic aspect after November? Is there a possibility that we're gonna be dealing with somebody different?
Is there a possibility?
Yes.
I believe so, but we have never had that occur with our programs.
We have, that would be up to the town.
Right.
It would be up to me to make the recommendation to the select board that I am either satisfied with the customer service, with the product, with the program itself.
So there's no guarantee?
Well,
There's no guarantee there's gonna be a
should-
continuity
should-
that's gonna keep going down the road.
Well, I think it's pretty safe to
Yeah,
say it's incredibly likely. We've never been
Yeah.
switched for a different.
I mean, she's great.
No, I'm not, I'm just, I'm asking
Why would we
questions.
let her go?
You don't ask questions, you don't get answers.
I think it is incredibly, the probability is incredibly high that Good Energy will stay and continue to be the consultant for this program. We haven't seen a switch like that before.
All right.
Yeah, but
No,
I just
I mean, I
want
think it's a valid question.
Full transparency. I mean, it is also an agreement that the town makes, and you know we make agreements all the time.
Right.
This one, I think, as Courtney said, is likely that we'll continue the relationship.
I know from my perspective, I know National Grid is gonna be National Grid.
Yeah.
It's gonna be National Grid.
Right.
It's
Well,
gonna be National Grid. All right, so
From the
the bottom
distribution
line here,
side.
the uncertainty of going into this program when there are no guarantees.
No, I can tell you, this program is going to continue to be the program,
So,
continue to be the program.
I feel better if the town decides to fire them, well, everybody's gonna get opt-out automatically, right? We're gonna go back to natural
Yeah,
grid.
exactly. I
Okay,
mean,
that's all that matters.
I am just, the only reason that I'm offering that caveat is because I do want to make it clear that the town has the free will to enter into contracts as necessary. So I will also offer that every community that I've ever worked in and the community that I live in has had this municipal aggregation program for years. I was frankly so surprised when I came to Rutland and learned that we were just at the cusp of bringing it on board. This program in various forms has been around the state of Massachusetts and New England for decades.
And over 200 towns and cities in Massachusetts are running an aggregation or starting it up.
And the reason that it does take time is that each community or each group of communities, so when I was out in Western Mass, we had, I think there was 11 communities that worked together into a coalition to go in front of the DPU to get permission to participate in an aggregation program. So the fact that Rutland is able to do this on their own and still get the rates that we're getting, it really is a wonderful opportunity. I know that there's uncertainty because there's the, it's just something new. But there's so much history here. It has had such great success across the state and across New England. The fact that you can opt in, opt out with no penalty at will, I think is your security. I really hope that you'll give it a chance.
And I would love to just say, very much so, the purpose of this public meeting is to assuage, any fears you might have, but also to answer any questions so that you can leave here confidently knowing the decision you made. And I want to direct the conversation back to the program and how it works and any questions that you guys might have around the program and how it works, just to make sure that all of those are settled, because that is the intention of this meeting. Yes.
We had our meters replaced most of the town, I think. And that's partly to allow time of day, peak demand pricing. So that would make our rates actually variable depending on how much of your power you use in peak times and so on. I don't know if that's being implemented now, or if it is, how that's.
So the question was around meters being implemented recently, smart meters and those things. This program does not affect smart meters. Your meters are implemented by National Grid, and any questions around those should be directed towards National Grid.
But if the rate is variable.
Well, the supply rate won't be variable either on the program or with National Grid or whoever your third-party supplier is. And we're just talking about the supply portion of the bill in accordance with this program.
So the question that you have is about distribution and use, not supply.
So that could vary.
Like off-peak and peak, like between 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock?
Nothing to do with your supply.
Yes, it's not affected by your supply.
That's the other part of the bill.
The other part of your bill is the delivery portion of your bill.
So that could be affected.
And that is National Grid's territory. Yeah.
So that could affect the other.
My question is, if this was negotiated a year ago and you said.
No,
And
They approved the product choice so that we could prepare to go out to bid. We just went out to bid a couple of months ago, or a month and a half ago.
But you agreed on it last August?
Right, but like I said, this program takes a
It's
long
steeped in a lot
time.
of bureaucratic.
And so
yeah.
what did this company have that made you select them?
So I wasn't here.
So
Yeah,
we
I
don't know.
wasn't
What
here.
did you provide Rutland?
Yeah.
What did you say to Rutland to make them take your company over others? Because I'm seeing your rates that you're giving us right now are very comparable to other companies that supply
Yeah,
us.
so I just want to clarify the stakeholders in this question. The question is, why go with Good Energy as the consultant when these rates are comparable to some other rates? So Good Energy is not a supplier. We don't provide the electricity. We don't generate and provide the electricity. That's what the supplier does. What we are experts on this type of program. So when it comes to the bureaucratic things, having the relationships with the suppliers to do a competitive bid.
Oh, so you're the middleman.
We are the middleman, yes, very much
Perfect,
so.
perfect.
I work, on any given day, I'm taking a call from a customer who's a resident for a town just like you. I might be emailing a supplier, asking questions about a particular account that you asked me about to get the answer for you. And I might be emailing National Grid saying, hey, what's going on? Like X, Y, and Z question about like a delivery component or something.
Or an email from me saying, can you resend me that document because I can't find it in my email again?
Yes, the
How many-
town and city.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
very much as a consultant, we're considered a broker when it comes to the suppliers and a consultant when it comes to
So
the
who is
client.
the supplier?
National
Right
Grid.
now, no, the
I might have missed
the supplier is, Direct Energy.
Oh, it is direct energy, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I have
So
that written
when we
down.
went out to bid, I worked with Good Energy, right? The town partnered with Good Energy to put your supply rates out to bid. We had a number of companies, including Direct Energy, reply or respond to that bid. And with the help and the guidance and the consultation from Good Energy, the town selected that particular product at that particular rate, and that's what you have in front of you.
Yes, ma'am, you've had your hand up.
What does the town get from this? Do they get some kind of a?
Nothing.
The town doesn't get anything from this. They are just providing you with more options as an electricity consumer.
And to, the question was asked earlier, before the meeting started, the town itself, I can't enroll this building, I can't enroll the town hall. We are excluded from taking advantage of this. I have my own procurement process that I do to procure the electricity for the use by the town. So this is really just for you as residents and any business owners that have a property in
Yes, this is
Rutland.
intended for the residents and businesses.
Yeah, and the town doesn't, there are no kickbacks.
Yes, sir, in the red.
I was curious, on the community solar, just that we get discounts if we're
Mm-hmm.
part of community solar. Has there ever been any case where these discounts have not been approved?
No, so
So-
this program works seamlessly with forms of solar. If you are on a community solar program, that will continue as is. If you have solar installation on your own home, the net meter crediting is going to continue as is, including the exchange rate for which you sell it for. The only difference is if you have solar installation and you don't generate enough usage, or sorry, if you don't generate enough electricity based on your usage and you have to purchase from the grid, your supply rate is going to be that of the program rather than a third-party supplier or National Grid. It works seamlessly and, yeah, very pro-solar. Yes, ma'am.
So you may have just answered this.
Okay.
But with National Grid, there's a senior rate, there's a budget rate, there's an income rate.
Yes.
That does not change with you, or do you offer anything better than that?
Correct, that does not change with us. The only thing that this program affects is the supply portion of your bill. The only thing it affects is the name of the supplier and the supply rate. Those discounts offered by National Grid, which includes low income and all the ones you just listed, they continue to work seamlessly with the program. Those discounts are not affected by being on or off this program because your supplier doesn't affect it.
And this is my hopefully last question.
Yes.
As the consultant or the provider or supplier or whatever we're referring to this company as, what does this cost the DPU of Rutland?
Okay.
Because you're a consultant, right? And you get
You're
paid.
talking about Good Energy?
Yes.
Okay, what does this cost the DPU of Rutland? So the Department of Public Utilities is a state entity, I should say. In terms of the town of Rutland and its, legal going-ons, it is not affected by this program. This town.
So as taxpayers, we're not paying you anything to do this?
Correct. So what happens is you pay the utility, the whole bill. The utility then pays the supplier, the supply portion of the bill. The supplier then pays Good Energy based on the contract that was made. So the town is not paying us anything. Your taxes aren't. It is all baked into that supplier rate that you saw on the tape.
Direct Energy paying you.
Yes, and in a roundabout way, yes. Yes, it's baked into that supply rate.
getting it. I feel like I'm at a politician's meeting, how we're skirting around the money issue.
And we are not making it easier on you by us being called Good Energy and the supplier being Direct Energy. I very much understand that can be easy to mix up. But many of the suppliers don't have a name as close as we are. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I'm on 100% solar farm, hooked up with them, supplied through National Grid.
Okay.
Logically, I'm gonna opt out, except I wanna ask the question, is there anything I might be missing? Is there possibly any advantage to signing up for one of the three?
Yeah, so the question is, and what you described sounds like community solar to me. If you're participating in a community solar program, does this program affect anything, whether you're opting in, opting out, participating or not participating? The answer is no. You can absolutely opt out of this program. Taking that action will not impact your participation with community solar.
Is there any advantage to signing up?
Oh, is there any advantage to signing up for the program if you're in community solar? They're separate entities at this point in time. So there's no real advantage for being on the program in association with community solar. Any other questions? Okay, well, I just want to say thank you all for being here. I do understand that this is a confusing topic. And I would be happy to clarify any other questions you guys may have. I'm going to stick around here after this meeting. Please feel free to come up to me if you have another question. I can definitely either give you my contact number, answer it then and there. I'm happy to continue to be of assistance, and I would really encourage you to make sure you have the contact information on this page before you leave. If you have any questions, you can always reach me and my colleague at the 508-356-4681 number. We're happy to answer any questions.
I have one quick question just to verify what I heard.
Absolutely.
So after the 13 months,
yes,
you don't know if you're gonna be able to lock us in for 3 months or 6 months or 12 months or 18 months?
After these 13 months, we will go into another competitive, well, I suppose before the end, so that you have a price
Right.
when the 13 ends. And as a part of this competitive bidding process, different suppliers blindly come in and they offer different rates for different term periods. Then we, as the experts, look at it, talk to the town about their wants and needs, and together we come and we pick out the most favorable product option that's presented to us from all of the suppliers. I can't tell you how long that's going to look right now, but I can tell you that we have had rates locked in for as far as 4 years. And I do believe it was in the town of Rutland's best interest to do these 13 months. It's a very volatile market right now, and it was starting to become volatile at time of procurement. I personally believe this was a very smart term length, and we'll see what's smart come the renewal.
All right, so Courtney, I have one more question because of
Yes,
the way you answered. So right now, you're Good Energy, you're a company who goes out and bargains for a better rate for us, correct?
We do not bargain,
No.
we just set up the competitive bidding process. Think of it as a broker.
So you might not decide that Direct Energy is the right person for the next
We
run.
have the same set of competitive suppliers that are heavily vetted. Like I said, there's a lot of third-party suppliers out there. There are not a lot that can handle the type of load of a town or city, let alone in a volatile market. We work with a certain and small number of competitive suppliers that can handle this type of program.
So that
we go
could
to them
change.
and we ask them to
Yeah.
go to bid for any bid. Whether they choose to it's up to them whether they choose to participate in the bid or not. They typically do.
But if another supplier is offering a better rate or better terms,
Right.
we're not obligated to stay with Direct Energy. We would obviously choose.
That was the question.
Choose the company that offered the best terms. And I'll just sort of offer too that we originally had intended to go out to bid about 3-4 months before we actually did. And Good Energy went out and tested the market on our behalf and came back and said, I know that the town is really anxious to get this program, out there for residents to take advantage of. This is not the time to go to bid because things were very different in that snapshot of time. We listened and we didn't go out to bid. And I am so glad that we did because by heeding their advice and waiting 3 months, we were able to get these very favorable rates for residents. So, I'm gonna say it one last time, it's a great program, it's a great relationship. I'm really happy that we have it and especially the timing as we're going into the winter.
If a person does opt out and after the new contract is decided,
Basically, this is
people who opted out would not get any information or anything regarding the.
No, we'll do the same thing all over again.
There will be public outreach, but this is a concern for plenty of people. They want to know that once they opt out, that their decision is honored. And I can confirm that if you opt out, that decision will be honored. There is no automatic enrollment that occurs after you opt out. It's a one and done situation.
But you will receive notice of what the new rate.
There will be public outreach such as this, social media, news press. We can provide cable access slides, all sorts of things. You will not receive a letter.
No, I unplugged myself. I've been plugging
You can always call us, yes, you can always call us.
The thing that I don't like,
To see what the new contract.
Absolutely.
they should have started that before.
Okay, thank you all for coming, really appreciate your time and all be sticking around.
I wish they would have a trash thing about this because I always.
Oh, yeah, no, everything, this is town, every town,